Hi everyone. In this video we will continue where we started. So in this video we will actually show how to do basic data preparation tasks in Tableau. So as we have seen in the previous video, we used a very well formulated table that was already organized and formatted for us really well. But in reality, data files are not always actually as well formatted as the file that we used for the global superstore. So now let's go through an example where we have a file that is not well formatted and how we can organize it and format it using Tableau. So we will navigate for that file. So this file actually would highly encourage you to follow along. So this file is called data prep flights, in which actually reports or keeps records of the number of result incidents per employee per month. So in this table, or in this file, actually we have several tables, and for example we have the ideal tab here, which shows, so let me click on the ideal, which basically shows the dates, the name or the employee ID, and the number of incidents that were resolved. So this is well formatted and it is good, but for us we might sometimes actually receive data that doesn't look as well formatted as this one, and we will look at one of the examples here. For example, so let me get rid of this guy. Let's look at this one, resolved incidents. So this is a table or a file that it is not organized, and it doesn't have any appropriate column names, and we have null values in the first two rows, and we have dates and then numbers. So it is not organized at all. So now let's go through Tableau and how it can help us automatically reshape this Excel file to get them ready for our analysis in Tableau. So first thing that we need to do is, we'll already got this file open, and now we can actually look at nice feature by Tableau is here under Sheets. It's called Used Data Interpreter. So this is a really nice tool that will help actually organize our data and interpret it much better. So in this case, what we will do is we will click on this radio button, and as you can see, it looks much better now. Still, we have as you can see here, the dates are our columns. It is still not really, but it's much better than what it was before. Now we can even actually clean it and organize it even further by using a nice feature here also called pivot. So let's see now if we can see those headers. As you can see, they are nulls. Review results. So now let's review the results here and see after what happened after we clicked on the data interpreter. So this will give us an Excel sheet that actually explains to us let's click on the tab we used, which is called resolved incidents. So now this is telling us in red, you can see the fields that have been used as headers in red, and also how the data looks like in green. So basically this Excel sheet tells us how Tableau organized our data and how it organized it in a nice way. So now, before we go back to Tableau, let's just have a quick look at one of the tables or sheets here called ideal. So let's look at this guy. So it looks really nice here. As you can see, all the dates are actually in a field or in a column, and we have all the employees in the column, and the number of result incidents are in a column. So this makes sense. It helps us kind of analyze data, and it is well formatted. On the other hand, the table that we just fixed, result incidents, it's not ideal for us. It's not ideal for doing an analysis. So let's go about. So now let's learn how we can actually organize it in a much nicer way by going back to Tableau using a nice feature called pivot. Now, in order to use pivot, we will need to select all dates, columns, or fields, and then we'll right click and actually use. So the way to select all of those fields, I will just click on the first field for dates, and then I will scroll all the way, and then I will click on shift and select the last column here. So now all of them are selected. So now I need to use pivot. I will just click on this arrow here and select pivot. Boom, it's beautiful. So now it has organized it for us the way we want it. That will make it easier for us to analyze this data set. So now, as you can see, we still have some problems with the data type and the name of the titles of the fields. So let's fix them one at a time. In order to fix this, we can actually first rename this guy here. You can just right click and rename and put it as date or dates, whatever you want to call it. So that's one thing. And the other one, we want to rename it, we can call it this one result incidents. Enter. And this one is employee. We might just keep it that way, but still we have alphanumeric values for employee here. And also we need to change this data type into dates, and this is numeric is good, and this is okay. Now we are good to some extent. Let's work some more on this employee. We want to separate the letters from the numbers for the employee here. And so as you can see here, we will need to separate those letters for the ID, and to do that we will actually need to click to open the menu, and we will use a feature here called split. So click on split. So now automatically, beautifully, it splitted this field into two. One field that has only letters, the other field has numbers or IDs. So now we can just go ahead and rename those guys. So we can rename this guy and give it some meaningful name. So I will right click on this name, and then I will call it rename, and I will call this location, and then enter. The other guy here I'll just rename, and I will call it employee ID. So ID, enter. So now I have named and I have formatted my table very well. That is ready for me to actually. But on the other hand, here still it shows me here on IDs as numeric, but it is not a numeric. I want it to be actually, it's supposed to be a string, means a text. I don't want to use it for calculation, so it is a text or a string. So that's why I changed it into a string data type. So now if we click on sheet 1, we should be very nice, and we will be able actually to start to analyze this data set to see who solved more incidents than others. So let's bring an employee ID or the employee ID to the view. Employee ID, just double click on it, and then I can also click on the result incidents to the column. So I'll drag it and put it in the column. Now I can sort them. So as you can see here, there are a couple of employees who solved a lot of incidents versus the other half almost solved very few incidents. So, and there should be actually, there is a reason. As you can see here, there are two categories, and the reason looks like that employees are often able to get through more cases and they have a tier 2 designation. So there are two basically tiers that who have solved a large number of incidents. So if we want to look at this, we can look at our original data set, which is basically we can look at this Excel sheet, and we can search for a tab where it says tiers. Let's see where I can find tiers. Here it is. So tiers. Where's the tiers? Okay, let's see. So if we look at the tiers, as you can see here, there are some employees that have, dash and then 2. That means tier 2. So in this case, we will need to separate this tier 2 into a field by themselves. So not all rows have this tier 2, so we will if we try to use the standard split, it will not work. So in this case, we will need actually to create a visualization that incorporates this tier designation. So to do that, we will go back to Tableau, I need to open this file again. I can just go actually to either to this one to upload it again back and forth using this guy, or I can just go to the data source and drag this guy, this guy here. I can either drag this guy, or I can just open one from scratch. Another one, you can just open this guy from newly. So for us, our goal now is actually to fix this tiers guy. So just double click on this tiers guy. And as you can see here, we have, it doesn't look nice. We will go click on the interpreter in order to fix it, and we will do the same steps that we did earlier. So select all the dates fields and hit on shift and then select the last field to highlight all those fields. Rename those guys, or actually click on this to select pivot. Now we can change this guy into dates like what we did earlier. Rename this guy into dates and rename this guy into incident. So incident result incidents, I believe. Alright, and it is already numeric. Now this is what we are gonna do here. What we will need to do here is to use something called custom split in order to split it into 3 fields. So custom split. So what is the separator that we need to use? We will use this, the minus sign, or you can say the dash or the hyphen actually. So the hyphen is put there in the use separator. And how many fields or columns do we want to split this guy? So using the hyphen, so 3. We'll add that. So now we have 3. Click OK. Boom, it is done for us. Now it looks beautiful. Now let's just go ahead and format those guys. Now I will let you rename those guys the same way we did earlier. So we call this guy location, and this guy we call it employee ID, or you can just make space, that'll be fine. And this guy we can just call it tier. So now we have a very beautiful table. So it is well organized for us. Now we can go ahead and actually create. So we will add a sheet, or actually go to sheet 1, or just add a sheet. I'll just add a sheet to have tiers as my table. So now I have tiers as my table, the name of my table, or the source for my for this sheet. I will select employee, double click on employee ID, and I want to see result incident, and I want to create a bar chart. So the result incident will be in the columns. Organize those guys again. Now I want to use the tier variable that I just cleaned and created, and I'll drag it to color. That way I can see, now I can see, and as you can see here in the legends, we have those guys in orange. They are tier 2. That's why they resolved many incidents rather than those other tiers. So that's all for this video, and we will continue next.